Welcome in, everyone. RFK Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here to break down. John, by the way, apparently performing a fantasy baseball draft wearing a Yankees shirt, which just never ceases to amaze me. I keep forgetting that you have like a connection to the Yankees. How are you doing, man?
It's an old one. Yeah, no, this is I'm doing all right. This is the, I think, third year in a row in which I've drafted a fantasy baseball team while podcasting about soccer. I think this is the third year in a row. So if I seem distracted, it's because I am, but I'm doing my best. You know, sometimes you just gotta go with the vibe and do what everyone else says. How was your weekend, Ted? Was it good?
It was soccer filled. A lot of soccer refereeing.
Ted is the fittest man alive right now. I think is what he wants you to know. His VO2 is infinity.
I am not the fittest man alive. That is very much the case. I can get by, I guess is the best way to describe.
You get by better than most. I would say if we did a endurance contest for our podcast listeners, I feel like you would be in the top third.
Potentially.
I think so. I think that's true. We should do the RFK Refugees Memorial 5K for the cure, and then see how you place
with no training whatsoever.
Nope, just got to roll out.
You know, referees do like walk a lot. It's usually a lot of like hard and then quick.
You messy it basically. You're just kind of walking until you got to run.
Exactly. So we're going to try to talk about DC United 0-0 draw with Montreal. There's no news, nothing really to take away from the team. There was nothing else other than the game. And the game was fun. It was a 0-0 draw. Ugh. All right,
I give it a thumbs down emoji. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that as my major analysis. But yeah, no, I just want to say the one funny thing is if you go and watch the condensed game or the recap, every single highlight is of Montreal on a fast break, but every time that's happening, they're like, DC United is dominating this game, and all the highlights are just Montreal running in on goal and missing opportunities. Like 8 or 10 in a row. It's kind of funny. I'd recommend checking it out.
Yeah, it's really I guess the best way to I sat down. I just actually finished rewatching this game. Sat down after work. I was like, all right, I needed to watch the first half. I arrived sort of at the second half. Didn't go great. I kind of sat and watched like the first half, and I was like, man, this is good. Like the team is attacking. There are players that I think got called out in this game. There are two players in particular. It's the same ones I think has been for a while now. It's Jared Stroud and Gabriel Pirani. Gabriel Pirani, with a nice chance. I think he had one sort of pass that kind of set up Benteke. Jared Stroud, I even said was doing what he's supposed to do, which is driving hard, trying to play the cross in. He plays the ball that falls to Benteke, and Benteke's sort of errant hand comes out and swats it, which is unfortunate. And because otherwise maybe we're talking about, a different result or a different game. It was pretty clear that Montreal rolled out in a 3-5-2. They were playing a very much a defensive shell. It was Owusu and maybe Fabian Herbers were like the only ones that were going forward. Everybody else was kind of sitting in a defensive shell, just trying to disrupt DC. And I think that was a fairly good strategy. But I thought DC did find moments where they were able to kind of break them down. And the one positive, I guess, is that left side for Schnegg and Peglo, how quickly that's kind of come together, because a lot of their attacks came from that left side. So I don't know. There's some positives. I think you kind of said there's positives, but it's like the finishing product, knowing what's coming, it can be difficult to get excited about. Well, there were some good things we saw.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I think you got to peg the Peglo and Schnegg stuff is something that you got to be excited about. If you could figure out a way to make this team multifaceted, that's like the challenge for Troy is make this team do more than one thing well at a time, please. Offensively, that's where we're gonna come into our own and start actually being a threat, because it's just a matter of you kind of game plan and overload the assets, and then whatever happens, the right side is just not able to take advantage at the moment. Before it was Benteke, it's still kind of Benteke. I don't know. It's there have been some people talking about tactics. I don't really think that's at play here. I think there is, we've finishing has not been great. We've generated a 1.5 XG again this game. Should have had a goal out of this at least. First shutout in how long? Was it been a year? Against Montreal was the last one, I believe.
I think the last one, I'm going to go out on a limb. I think it was the 0-0 draw that they had against Cincinnati early in the season. I think where Alex Bono kind of stood on his head. I could be completely wrong, but that feels like the last time this team had a sort of a shutout. So again, quality of play, not great. I think we've digested this. These were games that this team, if this team wanted to make a statement or to at least put themselves into we're certainly above this crowd of teams, and we're, fighting for that playoff spot, at home, three, a win and 2 draws, no wins against Eastern Conference opponents. The only win came against Sporting Kansas City, who's a Western Conference opponent. Results wise, it's not there. It's not there.
It's the most unsatisfying undefeated start you can have, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could have drawn all the games, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do want to say, seeing kind of the full fledged of like people talking about tactics and just Troy know what he's doing. I think he does. I think the fact this team is still, they've almost completely overhauled how they played, and they're still sitting like, I think, top 4. They're like 4th in like expected goals against in the whole league, expected goals for in the whole league. That to me shows a strategy that is working. If you're able to generate those types of chances, that shows me that they've been able to sort of change up how they play. They've suffered maybe a little bit, at this time last year, they were the top team in expected goals. And the fact that they've been able to do that does tell me that there is a coherent plan in place for what they're trying to do. I think it has worked. They found ways to get themselves into good positions. And I sort of see, I see the strategy behind it. I know a lot of people are already ready to toss Stroud aside. After kind of this rewatch, I'm not ready to do that just yet. I thought he was a little bit better.
And for whom? Who do they want? Jacob? Do you want Jacob Merrill just to start every?
Yeah.
DC United has a brain disease. Our fans, that it is so predictable. It is so predictable. But I mean, it's similar to Pirani. Right now, we're in already. Well, we have Leal is still injured. That would be the place you turn. Is that is not a place where we have a lot of depth, injuries or no, right wing. That I think if you look at this team in the window where they're going to look, obviously you could rejigger your formation to figure out a way to put more offensive on the field if you had to. That didn't require Jacob Merrill at the wing, but the wing and the 10 are the two spots where you're looking at this team like, man, it's not there. Right wing and the 10 are the two spots in the window where you're like, if we got a DP slot, if we're still in the 3-3. That would be a good place to do it. Pirani is who we thought he was. I think is really who you got. You really just gotta embrace that and understand it and live it. There are people that want to say that he has improved. He has. The problem is that the expectation and need for a 10 in this league, particularly with the way the rest of this team is built out, is high, and he can't turn the ball over the way he does, and he has to create more chances.
Yeah,
he's gotten better. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I will stand here and say that for sure, but he is not a guy that you can start every game at the 10 and expect to be offensively dangerous. Don't think so.
Not consistently, at least. He has his moments. He has certain moments where he looks dangerous. I think the avenue that you talk about where he's improved, and one thing I think that Troy deserves a lot of credit, the guy's back pressing. I remember watching this guy late last season in games where it was just like DC, he was just not tracking back and trying.
Which is inexcusable for a young player of the results that he had. That was crazy. We got very upset about that when we would see that.
And he's doing it now. Like he has got to bought in. And I think that has helped this team defensively because it prevents teams from having kind of a free reign. I've seen some suggestions. One suggestion is push Kojima up to Pirani's position. That won't work. Kojima, I love Kojima. I think Kojima's a very, very good player. His skill set, and he talked about reconfiguring the lineup to be more offensive. That is what Troy Lesesne has done by playing Kojima in that role.
Instead of Peltola.
Yeah, he's a more offensively minded player. He's going to push forward. He's going to carry the ball forward. He's excellent on the dribble. He's able to kind of find that, that maybe that second pass that might open up a shot, make that, we saw that, that run he made for his first goal of the season. That is a great role for him. And I thought, again, he was, had very good flashes in this game that showed he could be good. I think for, I'd say about 60 minutes of this game, DC came out, they generated chances. One moment in particular, I think that shows growth of this team. I think it was like the 54th minute, I want to say, where they were effectively just had Montreal pinned, putting chances and chances. The ball goes out to David Schnegg, who, by the way, I thought had another really good performance out there. And then plays this really nice little ball over the top to Jared Stroud. And Jared Stroud just, does everything he can to put as much force on that ball as he can. It's just a great save from the Montreal goalkeeper. So not much you can really do there. But, there are moments like that do really show that this team is growing and trying something different and able to be effective in that. And I think that does speak to Troy Lesesne. I know the results aren't there, and people say, well, the results aren't there, so who cares? I get that. But there's also, this is a game where I feel like if there's maybe an extra couple million out there in a DP, maybe it's a different result. I think this is a personification of the talent deficit the team has.
It's a budget team. It's we went out, we bought from Marshalls and TJ Maxx a little bit in certain places. So you see, and that's okay. We have put ourselves in a better position. The quality of the depth is better in some places, and probably every place, probably in every position, it's gotten better. But you don't have the statement pieces. You don't have the real sort of stuff that other people really want. If you look at this, that's always the way I look at how well your team is doing. If you look at what other teams would want to extract value from your squad, and I think it's better this year than it was last year, certainly, without a doubt. There are quite a few players that teams would take and put into their starting lineups. So there's that. And Peglo created 3 chances. I think that they've hit on Peglo. Schnegg appears to be who they were hoping he would be last year. Enau's gotten better. Certainly, he will struggle in my mind to meet the value of his transfer fee and sort of the expectations around what that was going to be. But that's okay. That's not really his fault. And Kojima, for $400K in GAM so far, looks really, really good. And Kai Rowles has been fine.
Yeah. Kai Rowles, I think there were some concerns about him and speed. I think he's adjusted a little bit. We'll see. I think the big test for this team defensively is going to be they've looked improved every single game from defensively. Now we're going to get into, the meat grinder. I don't think Orlando's necessarily that meat grinder. They've
got one more game of no meat grinding. Although they just played Red Bulls and tied them 2-2. So it is very hard to draw conclusions other than the fact that Inter Miami is going to score a bunch of goals. And it's probably pretty good. That's the one thing you could probably draw. But other than that, the results are kind of weird. Show has the number 2 leading goal scorer, and they're winning on the road and they're winning at home.
I mean, they honestly makes the 2-2 draw look a little bit better.
It does. That's the weird part. Kansas City scores 3 goals after scoring their first goal of the season against us in a draw. Weird stuff.
I did want to talk, and this is part of me. We all talked about the sort of the formational shift that Charlie Sane made, sort of playing that sort of 3-back line, Bartlett roles, and basically Herrera standing back. I do see the logic behind it, and pushing Schnegg in there, I think has helped make Peglo much, much more effective, because he's much better of a dribbler. He's much better of a player who's going to sort of play that quick one-time pass. He had a couple other moves where he, just was kind of condensed and kind of uses some of that, Brazilian flair to sort of get around the pressure. And then, you have Stroud, who is just your bombing direct type of right winger. He's going to, go forward. He doesn't have the skill that Peglo has, but he's going to be more direct. So I see I look back to that Toronto FC Benteke goal, and Muriel was obviously out there on the right. I wonder if Stroud's out there, maybe we get sort of a similar result, and that kind of direct, being able to sort of play that direct way, while then also kind of using the left side to kind of interchange a little bit, create something different, does give you more options and give you a different look. So, again, I think they're developing that. I'm willing to give Stroud a little bit more time. I thought he was improved in this game. Hopeful that you're going to see, he's going to get his feet under him. He's also playing with a lot of guys. He hasn't, he's played with Herrera, hasn't really played much with Kojima. I think he's struggling to try to find out how he kind of fits in this sort of new look for DC. So
there's no reason to rush for Muriel. I think, although we said this from the start, Stroud in my mind was a great pickup if he was a rotational option and your first winger off the bench. And he got pressed into service and he did well last year, but I still feel that way. I still feel like we should be looking for more. And while we got him, I mean, this is what we got right now. I think that to your point, he had an abbreviated preseason. He was injured at some points. I think, he still does some things pretty well. I think he's not our biggest problem. I think our biggest problem is next to him.
Yep. I would agree. A lot was made of sort of the sub rotations the team made. So obviously in the 60th minute, they subbed out Borisino, Jose Kojima, subbed in Sarvenia and Matty Peltola. What did you make of? I think there were some people that were maybe a little confused. I after rewatching that game, the momentum after about the 55th minute, after DC created that really brilliant chance for Stroud, things kind of started to level up. They started to lose that center midfield battle.
Yep,
I think due to exhaustion.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. He said he wanted to control the midfield better, and I think right now that means Brandon Cervania and Matty Peltola.
One of those is a pretty good option, Cervania.
Right. Matty still, I want him, well, now he's going to go on international duty. I wanted him to really perform really well on a substitute performance and stake a claim for a start. He's not doing that yet. In his 30-minute stints so far, I mean, the game dictates a lot of that, but like he wasn't able to. He's a great passer. He should be also able to contribute to the offense in a way that it hasn't been that way so far. I do want to call. We haven't talked about June at all in this game. He was FootMob's man of the match. He made the big save on Bryce Duke on the free kick and the rebound. That was probably their best chance. Montreal hit the post twice. Not much going on there. That's fine. That counts. His distribution still, I don't know. It's so tough. I feel like, I feel like it's not been as good as I thought it would be because it was told to be like so good. So every time he misplaces a pass, every time something's short or he misses Benteke's head, I'm like, well, they oversold him. They shouldn't have told me he was going to just be like the best passer in the world out of the back.
18 of 28 on passes, 9 of 19 on accurate long balls, so 47%. I will say, I think he had one moment that I thought he handled like extremely well, where I think it was sort of I forget who plays the ball back. I think it might have been Schnegg, kind of plays this sort of bouncing pass back. And I was kind of like, and you could see Montreal like trying to go after it. And he did this really nice little delicate sort of like half field touch right back to Schnegg. DC went back on an attacks. I think there's some good moments from him. I don't think he was called to do much until the end of that game. Came up, made the save. I did look at that one shot. He makes the save. I'm like, it's like maybe could he held on to that? I don't know, or at least played it down to where he could have collected it maybe. But you make the save. My goalkeeper coach told me, make the save. No one cares. Just make the save. Like worry about form, worry about other stuff. In practice. Make the save in the game.
What did you say his long ball accuracy was this game?
It says 9 of 19 is what FootMob has.
I was just looking at Alex Bono's stats from last year. He was 43% long ball, 67% total accuracy. So I think that's better. I think that's or sort of around the same. Anyway,
around the same from one game versus
versus a full year. Anyway, but I think again, I think he's getting better. I think we're still seeing an improvement track. Got his first clean sheet. Didn't concede any weird goals. Didn't end up in his own goal. Didn't get bullied off of the ball at all. All progress. I'll go in the right direction.
Yeah, there's some progress. Some progress that's being made. Someone said on the stream, I'm curious to see Peglo as a false 9. Maybe switch Pirani and Peglo. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, guys. The problem you have, and this is what I'll say, switching up the way the team is playing right now, you're going to make sacrifices. You sub in, you push Kojima up top, and you sub in Peltola, you're going to be more defensive. You're going to be less creatively minded in that kind of that center midfield spot. If you put Peglo in the center, who's playing out left? Is it Pirani? Was switch up Pirani? Maybe switch Pirani and Peglo. Pirani, I think, is not been suitable to that sort of number 9 role, to that left wing role. He's been much better when he sort of comes on as sort of a late game sub in the center role. So you're sacrificing by switching up this, you're kind of sacrificing it a lot about how this team plays. And I thought, Kojima looked promising out on that left side, not as good as Peglo. So like you're just making sacrifices when you try to switch players around. And I think Kojima has played his best soccer in that 8 role, and it's been in the past couple of games since he switched to that role. So
it's like taking one leg off of your chair and then putting it in another spot. Like the chair is not any more stable, or it's and that's actually a horrible analogy. But the idea basically is there's no version of this team when rearranged that will be really better than what we've got going on based on the way we want to play anyway. At least that's my belief. There's no ace in the hole. It's not like Troy is missing the really big obvious thing.
Yeah. And I guess we maybe have some other things of note, late in the game. I felt it was still, this felt similar to last year in the team just kind of running out of steam. Like they threw, it was sort of kitchen sink, 83rd minute. You're throwing out Rita Zohir, Fidel Barajas, like your 2 sort of last remaining attackers that are on the bench to try to.
Congrats to number 99 for making his debut, by the way.
Yes. What did you make of him? A couple nice moments. I think he looks interesting. There was one moment I think he kind of dribbles in out on the wing. I'm just like, and he kind of tries to go like down the other side. I think if you look at that tape, you say, hey, you've got Christian Benteke in there. You can play a ball. Go try to play a ball into Benteke at that point.
He looked a little tactically lost there in the little bit of time, and that's to be expected probably.
Well, and I think it's also suffering. I do think one thing about Troy, I think in those last, the sub for Cervania, the sub for Pelta made sense. I'm like, you're losing that center of the midfield. Montreal starting to gain in this game. get some fresh bodies in there. I thought Peltola did well. Cervania, not so much. He's still like, he holds the ball a little bit too long. He tries to play, I think, like Kojima, like some other guys, and it's like, you just don't have it, dude. Just, pass and move and play simple. I thought he lost the ball in a couple key areas, kind of stalled a lot of attacks. You sub Merle on, obviously you're trying to just throw bodies forward, and I thought it just compromised the team's attacking shape, where it's clear like Zohir, Barajas especially, like just don't quite know what to do, and it felt very much kitchen sink from Troy Lesesne, and they just weren't able to be, they weren't able to be sort of cohesive and sort of develop, a cohesive attack like they did in that first like 60 minutes or so. So that's just a statement. I think it's, I don't know the solution to it. You've got a lot of players in there, and you got to kind of figure out how to fit it together. I would maybe like to see, I don't think Murrell had a good showing. Maybe I'd like to see Barajas first off the bench in a game and see how that plays out. Maybe come in for a Jared Stroud and see what he can do sort of on that wing position, because he is more of a natural winger than Jacob Murrell. So we're worth watching, worth paying attention to. Anything else of note, I guess, from this game that you can think of? Or
no injuries? That was cool.
Well, I was a little worried about Bartlett. I'm still maybe a little worried about Bartlett after that.
Angus pointed out that Pirani was mad after he got subbed off and kicked the chair when he got subbed off. And my response to that is good. I'm glad. That's good. Passion's great. I still think I think he lacks conviction and confidence right now at the moment, and he will until he starts to score goals. And then just like every player in the entire universe, it's just a matter of doing that and getting started, because he had a run last year, obviously, that everyone has taken as proof positive that he's the answer. But once he hits that, I mean, I'm sure he'll stack it up. It's just a matter of getting that first. And he had a really great opportunity this game. It's like a 0.3 xG chance. Mm-hmm. Certainly could have been there. It was close. Great setup.
Yeah, and maybe we see that goal, and maybe we see things start to flow for him. All right, let's get to some. I think we got all we got out of this game. They've got Orlando next. Orlando are a team that I think are kind of on the struggle. I think they're trying to kind of rebuild. They put themselves up and they sold some players. They are now not in good straits right now. They have only won one of their last 4 games. Of course, they beat Toronto, which should beat Toronto, but they've lost to 10-man New York City FC, tied to the Red Bulls, and then they got drubbed by Philadelphia. So a team that is that's leaking goals, I would say, is the phrase. You even give up 2 goals, particularly at the end, to Toronto. So maybe this is an opportunity for a team like DC to kind of take advantage of. And for all, there's one place, regardless bad or good, that DC seems to do really well in. It's in Orlando. Go figure. They've lost like once there that I can remember, and I was at that game. So they seem to do really, really well. Really, really well against Orlando. So yeah, and also international break. I think right now we just have it's just going to be Peltola is going to be gone. I think Kai Rawls he got called up. I'm fairly certain. And then if there's one more, Herrera is the other one called up. I think they were saying there might be 4 more. Borisy now would be the possible like other player, I think, who's kind of on the fringes of being on the national team. I don't think Schnegg's kind of close at all to Austria, but I haven't seen if Borisy now has been called up yet. But
I don't believe so.
Yeah, so I believe no news is good news for DC, at least. I'm sure he would love to rejoin the team, but considering how thin we are at center midfield, that would be like Kojima and Cervania out there. Kind of glad that maybe he'll be sticking around. So something to be out for. I don't know. I do not know Orlando's situation as far as international absences. So all right, let's get to some questions. Brendan Cartwright says, how's the pregame hype thing playing? Carrying the banner, I think. It seems Forest possibly league mandated, but it's going over. How's it going over in the stadium? I think is his question. What are your?
I didn't pay attention when that happened.
Yeah, and I
don't know.
Game, so
yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I lost that one. I don't know. People have feelings about it. I know that. That's what I've heard.
I am for. We talk about this team. Being extremely, this team rooted in history, tradition, but it's all been kind of lost. And so I'm for, you can do things that are, I think, valuable and can, help properly hype the team. I think like Atlanta leans like very heavily into sort of the train stuff, but I'm like, you need to go all one way. Like, here's the example. And the example I used, we went to when you and I went to the Atlanta game, like that whole vibe is just, they choreograph that so beautifully to like, it gets you. Like if I was like an Atlanta fan, I'd be hyped. I would be absolutely hyped for every single game the way they do that. The golden steak, everything around that is just so well thought out and so well executed. Then I went to Charlotte, and Charlotte is just like all over the place. They've got the like medieval type thing, and then they like also then have some sort of like rock type thing going on. Like they're trying to be Nashville. They're just trying to borrow a bunch of things, do something, stay consistent with it, and it'd be good. I'll get to a game, I'm sure, this year, and I'll have maybe more comments about what I think about it. And I think it's, they're leaning into their history. They're bringing out old players. They're bringing out, different ones. I think that can be a good thing to do. The question always is what happens if you run out of players to do it with, or players who want to do it. But I still think it's a good idea. And I think you could bring in the community into it. I think that's always a good thing. Mark Rickling says, why does DCU commit so many fouls? Third worst in 2024. Worst this season is because we're bad at soccer. Undisciplined, combination of both. Something else. Extra points for heaping condescension for those who firmly believe the refs are out to get us.
That's a you question.
That's a me question. DC's playing a pressing style. They are trying to disrupt, play physical. You're going to commit more fouls. That's what I got for you. They've committed to this type of style. It's very effective right now for the players they have. They can turn the ball over. They can create chances. We've seen them do that. You're going to pick up fouls. Like it's the same reason. Like I'm sure if you look at like VCU, any team in college basketball that plays like a pressing, a full court press style system like VCU does here in Richmond, they're going to commit more fouls. Some referees are going to let you get away with more. Some aren't. It's the nature of it's the rolling of the dice. DC already on the yellow cards. I'm pretty sure like Kai Rawls has like 3 yellows now this year. So already rolling up to that potential suspension. But hey, maybe he'll be gone this week. So maybe there's a little bit of a break there. RJN DC is a small sample size, but what do you think of Barajas on his play on the field? I thought he did some interesting things. I think I see some talent there. I think the whole sort of last 10 minutes of that game from the 83rd to the 93rd minute was kind of disjointed. But I need to see more of him. I want to see more of him. They have him till the summer. So we'll see how that goes. Steven says, ask the rest question. Not saying it was favorable for either team on Saturday, but I did think how the game ref disrupted the flow. I was wondering, do you think it was how both teams played and it was warranted 8 yellow cards for the referee quick with the cards? Yeah. There were all of the cards that, or at least most of the cards that DC picked up were for SPA. They were stopping a promising attack. IFAB and referees across have wanted referees to give yellows for that. If a team is building a breakaway and a player commits a cynical foul, they want a yellow card for that. It is something that probably 5, 6, 7 years ago might not be called so much. There might be warnings, then a yellow card. We are told to be more, and I'm not saying a grassroots course is the same as a pro course, but the instruction has come down. They have put a lot of emphasis, particularly on U.S. soccer, on SPA, which is stopping and promising attacks. It's nature of the beast, like I said, when you're a team that wants to press. So sorry, I keep asking you. I don't know if you have any other questions.
Nope, certainly not on any referee things. I defer all. I give you my proxy.
Sweet, means I can like make stuff up.
You can, and say I said it.
Here's a good one. I'm curious. I'll let you go first on this one. Given the small sample size record, undefeated but 3 draws against subpar teams, what are your current odds for DC making the playoffs?
I would say 35%. It's not 50-50. I think that a team that was going to overperform its roster would have gotten more wins out of this weaker part of the schedule. So I say 35% to make it.
I say I'm 50-50.
Okay.
I'm absolutely 50-50.
Totally fair.
I think any team right now, unless you're down and you haven't won a game and you haven't shown any promise, you still feel like there's a coin flip that this team can make the playoffs. I fully expect this team. I think this team will be heading towards the home stretch. I think there will be a signing coming in the summer. I think they are trying to open up an international slot to maybe go out and sign that number 10 if Pirani can't put it together. That was one of my predictions. I think there are moves to be had for this team. I think we will have a different feeling about the talent level of this team after the summer window than we did sort of entering the beginning window. So I still put it 50-50. I think they've shown some good things. I think they could have Troy could have said, I'm just going to roll out. We're going to do exactly what we did last time. We're going to play quick, direct, go right. He's clearly trying to do some different things while also still leveraging Benteke. So still got 50-50. All right, time to talk about a team that is we feel very confident will make the playoffs, and we have very little qualms about the Washington Spirit after their amazing, definitely bigger than the NWSL championship trophy, winning in the NWSL Challenge Cup. They still got the t-shirts and everything. They went up against Houston on the road, picked up a 2-1 win. A Houston team that is definitely very much in rebuilding mode. And I think you really can't have too many complaints about how they played. They're still without Corey Bethune, who was in this lineup. Trinity Rodman as well. I think it's a good sign that the team was able to go on the road. They were able to get a result. I think the press especially was extremely effective in this game. And we give the goal is still credited to Ashley Hatch, but for now, but I'm please tell me that there's going to be somebody that's going to come in and say, nope, that is
justice for Chloe
Ricketts goal, and a really well taken goal. That was a strike. I think I needed to see. I feel like as a player, I still don't feel like she's getting like enough power on her shots. It still feels like every shot kind of coming is not really getting that force that you need to put it past the keeper. She's a player still, 16, 17, 18, so that's to be expected. So I think it was really good to see her kind of line up, take this shot. She got plenty of power on it, got it over the keeper, down behind the line. Hatch there to kind of finish it up to make it, 100%. But still a good finish. And then the work that we're seeing from Lacey Santos kind of on the cross on the first goal as well. And then a nice little cleanup effort from I think it was McKenna Morris, right, on the cleanup effort. So overall, then the game kind of settled a little bit into a lull. I don't think there were too many chances from really either side. Houston picking up the goal late in the game to kind of make it a little bit more. Any other, I guess, thoughts you had from this game? Or
the passing was really, really poor. Just kind of problematic in its poorness. The Houston Dash looked better. They should not have looked as good as they did. The Spirit are in a bit of trouble in that way, I think. Hold on one second. Let me make sure I make a pick here. All right, that was probably a bad pick. I think that Chloe Ricketts is a player that needs to figure out exactly how she wants to throw her body around. I think that's a young player thing. She'll figure it out. She's right now she's erring on the side of more physicality, which is certainly an option, but I think that's something that you'll want to watch out for. Trinity Rodman gets a cameo, which is good that she's getting healthier. Croy Bethune getting her late activation is good for the team. I think she'll probably feature this next weekend, maybe in like a substitute appearance. I love McKenna Morris. Goal aside, I think that she is one of. I was listening to Hey Spirits today, and they said that she's been involved in her last 5 games, has been involved in 5 goals in the regular season. I think she's a really, really good player. I think that they really lucked out with her, and she should be a starter every week over other options. And I think that the defenders have to improve, other than Rebecca Bernal, who looked amazing from the get. So that was an A+ signing, perfect hit. She lacks top end sprint speed to sort of catch up with the faster forwards. I think she'll have problems with a Chewinga, with certain other very speedy forwards in the league. But as far as her intelligence, her body positioning, her strength, she's top tier. I'm very, very happy with that signing. That's my big takeaway.
7 of 10 duels won, 3 of 3 aerial duels won. I think I noticed her aerial presence being particularly important. Another player I wanted to call out who I thought had a very, very good performance was Narumi Mura. I think she won the most duels of the match, 10. I think I saw one stat from Jason Anderson that it was 12 duels won. I'm not sure which stat is, but I thought she was we're looking for, she is supposed to be like the Andy Sullivan replacement. I thought in the Orlando game, I was like, I'm not really sure I see that. But in this game, I was like, okay, yeah, that looks much, much better. That's what we need from her to kind of, be that destroyer, that player that's going to bounce around sort of that middle of the field, interrupting plays, winning the ball, transferring the possession. What have you, I feel like, we all talked about how great, how Hirschfeld has looked. I don't think her performances have really it's been a little bit less so to kind of start the year. Again, it's one game, and then, you have the Challenge Cup when you're really kind of it's really a preseason game. Everybody's just kind of trying not to get hurt. But I thought it was maybe not a great performance from her. I think she'll bounce back, but, just something to watch.
She had the opening pass on one of the goals. It's early, to your point. It's early still. I was most disappointed with the passing out of Mickey Owen. I thought she was really, really inaccurate with the ball out of her passing, which is one of her strengths. So to your point, It's one game, throw it in the trash. You got 3 points when you played very much not your best soccer. No one got hurt. All things, Chloe Ricketts continues to get, all we asked last time was give Chloe minutes, and now she's getting minutes, so I have to be happy about that.
And I think, what Chloe Ricketts has done, obviously once Corey Bethune returns, she's the presumptive starter. She is miles ahead of where Chloe is right now. But you can at least look at maybe Chloe now and say, yeah, first off the bench. I think she can bring a spark. She can maybe sub in for Corey Bethune, allow her to kind of rest. I think having her out there has been sort of a clear indication from Jonathan that he sees her as potentially, a player that can produce off the bench, can sort of come in and sit in for Corey Bethune. Obviously doesn't have the just innate ability. And I'm so excited for when Corey Bethune returns, just because of like that innate ability just to kind of draw players in and just find that like half a second of right decision making just to play the ball into space and open it up for other players. So, the team like sort of willed their way to the final, but like after they lost her, it was this team got a little bit less exciting to watch without Corey Bethune there. So very, very excited to see her back in. I hope she's healthy. I hope there's no like, no loss, I guess, of her skill and ability, from this injury. That's the only thing you can hope for.
Fingers crossed. She's a difference maker, so we'll hope that's the case.
She is. And also the team training for an international roster spot seems like, I think possibly SAR is back in.
Hopefully. I haven't heard yet. There's media availability this week. It would be funny if they've added 2 players off the SEI in a week. It would be great.
Yeah. So, but definitely trying to fill that back up. All right. I think that, we did get one question, and we should ask that one question. This is from E.G. Evers over at our Discord. It says, Michelle Kane has made a priority of women's sports performance and investing in it, both with the Spirit and globally for women's soccer. And yet the Spirit can basically field a starting 11 with all their injured players. Any thoughts about what is going on here? I was hoping this was an area we'd excel at, to be honest. A little more frustrating about not being able to field your best team. I guess they're referring to the injuries. Is it referring to the
injuries?
Look, man, injuries I think are they're a part of the league. The team also has to put up with the fact that there's still a salary cap, so you've got to like manage it, I guess, in that regard.
I think it just goes to tell you that there's only so much you can do with sports science. It's not magic. It's not gonna keep you from getting injured. Injuries are in many ways luck, bad luck, genetics, conditions, a whole bunch of stuff at play. So I think you can spend as much money as you want there. To me, that money is mostly spent for the benefit of the players, for the players feeling like you're taking care of them, for the feeling like that's a priority for the team. They're going to spend money on that. It's less so to make things not occur. It's unfortunate not have your best players back, but they're all recovering for the most part. Other than Ule Sar, other than the answer is back. We don't know really what was going on, and we're not used to that. I feel like particularly as like a MLS fan or a men's soccer fan, it feels like it feels like they violate HIPAA to tell you exactly what's going on in their body. This is more like NHL. This is more like lower body injury month to month for Ule Sar.
Yeah, it's been, and that really was like, it was like they never really said like, oh no, she's out for the year. It was like more than, and then to the beginning they were like, well, she's on season-ending injury list just so we can and she might even be fully healthy, but it's like, nope, still on season-ending injury list until we get the international roster slot figured out, and then we'll reactivate her. So yeah, I mean, I think you're correct in that front. I think it can make a difference, but it's not going to be something you're going to notice like with reduced injuries necessarily. I think you'll notice it maybe in how quickly players recover, how quickly they sort of get back to full strength. I think that can make a difference, but it's not going to prevent like freak stuff from happening. It's not going to prevent, Corey Bethune walking out on a baseball field, throwing a pitch, and then completely doing it or knee. Like, that's just stuff you just can't predict and can't prepare for. So, all right, folks, I think that's going to do it. We managed to stretch 0-0 draw and a couple other games into
and the worst win of the Spirit's last 2 years in one game.
Hopefully we'll have more exciting things to talk about, more interesting and more goals, just more goals for everybody involved. Give me some more like Orlando Pride 6-0 over Chicago Stars.
Yes.
Because they changed the name. All right, folks, we'll talk to you next week. I'm sure John will possibly have a show on Thursday to preview. Definitely check it out if you're a Patreon subscriber. Subscribe if you're a Patreon subscriber and get that extra content.
There you go.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. Vamos.